Okay, we'll look at another example. So there's the first one. We graphed it on our calculator using the features of 0, which is found under second calc, maximum feature under second calc. We use the trace feature to find the Y-intercept, and always graph it in zoom 6. So let's look at this next one. Pull out your calculator, quit what you were doing, go to y equals, and if you want to clear that first one out, you can, and then type in the next equation, 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. Make sure you use this subtraction, not this little negative. You'll get an error otherwise. So type that one in, and if you're not sure where your window was before, zoom 6 it to put it in a standard viewing window, and you should see a parabola that opens up. And I knew it was going to open up because the front coefficient right there was positive. So let's find out some information about this graph. How about, let's go with the vertex first. So remember where we found that. We went to second calc, and under second calc, we chose what feature? If I want to calculate my vertex, and if you notice it's opening up, what's another name for this vertex here, this bottom point of that parabola? It would be a minimum in this case. So I would need to choose the minimum feature to calculate that vertex. So I'm going to choose second calc, and I'm going to choose minimum. Works just like the maximum. So either type in 3 or arrow down to 3 and press enter. We're going to find the minimum value, this vertex. So that's about where the vertex is, but we don't take those two numbers because that's not accurate. The calculator is asking for a left bound, so we need to tell it the left side of that minimum, so we scoot the cursor to the left. Now it's asking for a right bound, so we need to pass it up and be on the right hand side, telling the calculator where to look. And when it says guess, you just press enter and it'll give it to you. Oh, this is good too. We need to look at this. I've got a string of zeros and a 1, 2. I am not sure. Yeah, let's just take it as it is right there. Negative b 5 over 4. That 0.0012 is a bit misleading because it should just be 1.25. Let me show you something. I'm going to go back to the minimum feature, and that's about where I expected it to be. The closer you do your left bound and right bound, the more accurate your answer is going to be. So for my left bound, I'm just going to go 1 to the left and press enter. Then I'm going to pass it up when I think that is and go 1 to the, oops, that's too far. I want to go just a little tiny bit left, a little tiny bit right, and see if I get more accuracy. Notice what it is here. Negative 1.24 with a string of 9s. Really, the answer should be 1.225. We need to interpret that. So I would suggest just staying as close to the vertex as you can, to the left and the right, to get the more accurate value. So I would interpret this as 1.25 negative 6.125. 1.25 negative 6.125. So let's just get a point there. So 1.25 negative 6.125. We'll say there is our vertex. Now let's take a look back at the graph and let's find the Y-intercept. Remember, the way we're going to find it is press trace, but I bet if I press trace now, it's not going to give it to me. No, it's because I wasn't in that very first Zoom 6 window. So let me just kind of Zoom 6 it again and press trace. There it is. Brings it in at -3. Now you should have known it was going to be -3 from what? Remember when we looked at quadratics, that part is always your Y-intercept. So, you know, if your calculator doesn't give it to you, you should be able to get it from this equation. But there it is, 0, -3. So we can mark that one right there. 0, -3. And I notice that it's opening up, so I notice there's a couple of spots on the x-axis that it crosses, so I'm going to need to find the x-intercepts. So let me go ahead and say, right here we found the Y-intercept, where we press trace. It gave me 0, -3. And for the X-intercept, I want to remind you those couple of features we can use. We can use the table feature. I'll show you another feature, which is Zoom 4. And if neither of those will give me the X-intercepts, then I'm going to go to that last thing where I did second calc and chose the 0 feature. I would leave this guy right here as my last option. We will always try these two options first and see if we can find them without having to use that 0 feature. So let's check it out. There's our graph. Let's check out the table. And remember, for an X-intercept, you're looking for a 0 in the Y position. Aha, found one. There's an X-intercept, you get a 0 in the Y position. It's over here at 3. Shows me I have one over here on the left too, but since these values are nice whole X values, it's not going to show me anybody who's a decimal, so I'm thinking that guy is a decimal, but I was able to get one. Right there, there's an X-intercept I got from the table feature, an X-intercept of 3, 0. Let me show you Zoom 4. Zoom 4 is Zoom decimal. You don't have the best picture, but it is a great place to trace. So I went to Zoom 4 and I'm going to hit the trace feature. Well, yeah, it gives me that Y-intercept. Usually when you press trace, it always dumps the Y-intercept, dumps that out first. Let's trace though. And what this is going to do is trace it right along that graph. And if this is a decent decimal, it should show it to me in Zoom 4. There it is. So tracing in Zoom 4 might sometimes find those X-intercepts for you. So there, it's zeroed in on that one, -1/2. Let's scoot to the right-hand side. Oh, just keep going. You'll eventually get there. Aha, get close, get close, pass it up. There it is. There is the other X-intercept. So if they are kind of nice rational numbers, you should be able to find those in Zoom 4 and use the trace feature. So in this case, I didn't have to do the 0 feature, that left bound, right bound thing. I was able to catch them from the table or Zoom 4. So we either go to the table feature, or when I'm in Zoom 4, I hit the trace feature. I trace it in Zoom 4. So one was at a -1/2 and one was at 3, and those really line up with my vertex and my Y-intercept, and we can just scribe our parabola through those points. So this feature is a good way to check to see if the work you do by hand, the work you're doing by hand, is correct. So a great way to check your work. X-intercept at -1/2, X-intercept at 3. I want to show you another thing when you're in this mode, in this trace mode in your calculator. And it doesn't matter which feature you're in. If you're in the Zoom 6 or Zoom 4, any of those windows. But when you're in this trace feature, and let's suppose you want to find an ordered pair, This feature allows you just to type in a number. All you have to do is just hit the number and press enter, and it calculates its Y value. So if I wanted to know an ordered pair for the number 8, I could just type in 8 and it gives me its value of 85. That's an ordered pair, 885. Suppose I wanted to know the ordered pair for 0, my Y-intercept. I just type in 0, bang, it gives me my Y-intercept. But you have to be in this trace mode to be able to type in those X values. That's also a really great feature for finding some ordered pairs. So I know I've covered a lot on this video, but these are some features that you have to be familiar with, and I suggest just going over them and over and over them until you understand and can perform those operations. And we'll continue just to pull the calculator out throughout this chapter.